Good evening, everyone. This is Veer Maheshwar Charitable Trust Latur MS India organizing daily international webinar series. In this series, speakers are invited from India and abroad. Every day, speakers are sharing their knowledge as per their field of study and interest. So every day we are enriching in the knowledge on various topics from education to technology. Today, we have invited Dr. Bhardwaj Madam, who is Associate Professor, Chief Editor, SI in Social Science and Humanities, Open Frontiers in the Human Dynamics, HPKV Business School, Central University of Himachal Pradesh. She will join a speaker in next 2 days from today and tomorrow. But today's topic is conflict management styles. I welcome you, ma'am, from my organization and from the participants, those who are joined here. I welcome all the participants and we request you to start your speech now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. And the organizer of the event. I am so thankful and I extend my heartful gratitude to the organizer, Dr. Badkar, and Veer Maheshwar Charitable Trust, who has taken this initiative to share the knowledge on a single platform where people from abroad as well as from Indian different parts of the university as well as knowledge banks are participating as resource person as well as team member of the audience. So it is my honor to speak on very important topic today, that is conflict management styles. So I will be elaborating this because this happens to be my specialized area, and I have been into the research and writing books on conflict management for last 20 years. So I just hope that this session would help everyone to enrich the knowledge about conflict management style. Sir, first I would try sharing my PPT on my system. If it does not work, then I'll request you to go ahead with sharing the PPT. So let me try first because I was traveling, so I do not have much resources. But I'll try that I could share. If I could share my PPT from the screen, so that would be wonderful. Otherwise, then I'll seek your help. Let me try. Is my PPT visible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes. So shall I start then?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes. So before going into the detail, first I would like to present a situation, a hypothetical situation to the audience. I request everyone to please go through the slide and imagine that if we are into the same situation, how will we react? This is the situation of a teacher who is experienced as well as seasoned teacher in a school and have good experience of 15 plus years. He is known for his teaching and research as well as his dedication to the students' career and success. However, recently there was an incident that happened in Mr. Johnson's class, that he encountered that in his class some of the students were having a kind of conflict. So during what happened, actually the background is that the teacher was discussing a novel, controversial novel in the class, and there were two participative students, Emmy and Ben, who expressed their opposing view. So Emmy argues passionately for the protagonist actions, while Ben was disagreeing and criticizing the character. So as the debate escalated and it became evident both the students are becoming frustrated and agitated, on that day, this particular teacher tried to, settle down both the students, and this is how he concluded the class. Now, next day when he was again visiting the campus, he he was shocked to see the scenario that both the students who were discussing the case and were discussing the novel were actually fighting like this. In they took the argument so seriously that they took it personally, and they started fighting with each other. Now my question to the audience is, if somebody could respond, that if we are in the teacher and we face the same kind of situation, we do so many activities in the class, and sometimes we find that some of the students are having conflicts. So how, as a teacher, how, as the mentor for those students, how should we react, how should we deal with such student? If anybody could from the audience side can answer my question, so that would be wonderful. Okay, so Mr. Giri students to stop it. So that means we should intervene into the situation and we should not ignore. Yes, I would request Mr. Shukla ji, if you could respond, switch on your mic and can respond also.
Ma'am, the words of arguments are not the means that they are just we can say they are on the screen. But
Right.
there must be some background behind these two students. Because
Right.
the argument is the only reason where they are coming in front of each other.
Right.
And as a teacher, and we should not become one of the party. We should
Right.
tell them what is the culture and what is the decorum of our institute, and
Right.
follow it. And it should be at a conceptual level only. And if you are having any background, problems and conflicts behind, because these conflicts are deep rooted, please resolve
Right.
them as early as possible, because this is not accepted in the organization. Thank you.
Wonderful. So, as a teacher, we should make it quite clear that these kind of things are not entertained, and we would advise them to settle down, right? Anybody who would suggest that because this is the personal matter and we should stay apart? I don't think that as a teacher we can have that kind of attitude. So most of us would definitely agree with me that if any such situation arises within the premises of our teaching area, we definitely will try to intervene to an extent that it does not disturb the culture of our school, as well as it does not disturb the students, and it should not get to the next level. So we will always try to settle. Now assume that they are not our students. Would we react in the same way if we see two students fighting who are not part of our school or our organization, but they are fighting on a street? We will have the same level of intervention, or we will try to ignore? Can anybody respond? If they are not our student, how will we react to such situation?
Ma'am, please read my comments.
Yes, please. Okay. Can you read it out for everyone, please? Let them give some space to cool down. Yes, correct. Let them settle down their, aggression first, and then we can intervene. Put what is the real situation with evidence. I agree with that. So actually, the answers that we are sharing on the screen or through our, oral communication, it is clear that we will deal with the situation in a different manner. When the students are part of our organization, or they are away from the organization, or we do not know them, sometimes we react differently to different kinds of conflict that we witness as a teacher as well as a member of the society. The reaction, the way we deal with conflict around us, is actually referred to as conflict management style, and that is why I am here. That whenever we are interacting with somebody, may it be teacher, may it be students, may it be society members around us, sometimes, somehow, knowingly or unknowingly, we or a group of people around us can get trapped into the situation where we disagree with each other. And that disagreement is the situation of conflict. And our way or our reaction to dealing with such conflicting situation is referred to as conflict management styles. So generally, whenever there is a conflict, our reaction can be of 5 types. This is how we mostly deal with. Like some of us suggested that we will try to let them cool down. We will try to identify what is the real reason with evidence. These are the way where we want that everybody who are involved should get out of the situation in a collaborative way. So most of the answers that we got at this platform is that we will try to settle down the situation so that nobody at harm. So that is where we reflected collaborating style of conflict management. However, in some of the situations, the things will not be same. Sometime when we see that two people are fighting and we have nothing to do with them, we tend to ignore them also. So that is the another way of conflict management style. So this picture actually reflects that whenever we as a teacher, whenever we as a society member, we face conflict, we can have 5 ways of dealing with it. So the first way is competing. Second way of dealing with the conflict is collaborating. Third way can be compromising. And then next it is avoiding and accommodating. Now, what does these conflict refers to? Actually, when we talk about these styles, the first style is competing style, which refers to when there are two or more than two party and they have this attitude of I win and you lose. Here, one party try to dominate the other party so that their benefit out of any conflict is maximum and the other party is suppressed. If we take recent example, the conflict that is being witnessed by the world today is between USA, the leader of USA, and Iran. So here the situation is competing style because both the parties, both the leaders, they are trying to win the situation while suppressing the other party. So this is typical example of competing style of conflict management where both the parties or one of the dominating members of the party, they try to suppress the other party so that they maximize their own benefit and the other party's benefit is at stake. So in such situation, when we have competing management style of conflict, we are assertive, we are result oriented, and we do not actually bother about the relationship that we manage, the relationship that we maintain. So we can all see that these days the most talked issue, the most talked conflict is between USA and Iran. Here the parties they are, here the countries, they are not bothered about the relationship, long-term relationship of both the countries. Both the leaders, rather one of the leader that is the president of USA is trying to suppress the other party so that he wins the situation and the other party loses it. So there is most of the time high assertive and uncooperative style that is being reflected in such situation, and the party involved do not have much focus on relationship building. So this is one style of management of conflict. The second style is collaborative style. It is not always necessary that we win and the other party loses. There can be a win-win situation where both the parties get maximum output or maximum benefit, even if they have disagreements. That style where we try to understand the nature of the conflict, the reason behind the conflict, and try to make sure that none of the parties are at loss and the relationship is also intact. There is no damage to the relationship. That approach of dealing with the conflict is referred to as collaborative style of conflict. So here both the parties are cooperative. Both the parties, they seek that there should be some solution for the problem, and it is one of the style which is quite effective when we are dealing in complex and critical situation. So if we take the example of the case study that I started with, in this situation, when as a teacher we try to settle down both the students by identifying what is the reason and asking them to communicate with each other, negotiate with each other so that their relationship is also maintained, the reputation of the school is also maintained. the reputation and the culture of the class is also not get affected negatively. So in this style, in this way of managing conflict that most of us also responded the way is collaborative style. So here we do not want any party to get suppressed, but we want to identify the best possible solution for a conflict so that the none of the parties are at loss. So when we have this kind of approach, we try to maintain positive culture as well as we try to maintain the good relationship, congenial relationship within the organization. But sometimes we try to manage the conflict in a way that there should be possibility of best win-win situation, but all the situation cannot have win-win outcomes. So there can be a midway sometime, and that midway is referred to as third style of conflict management, where one party as well as the other party win something and they have to sacrifice something for each other. So that style where both the parties they try to come midway. I win half, I lose half. You also win half and you also lose half. If we have that approach, we call it compromising style of management. So this is middle of the ground, finding a fair and balanced resolution. This is quick also because when we try to collaborate, it is a time consuming and effort consuming process. Time for identifying the best possible outcome to win-win situation. So that is why both the parties they agree. It is also known as I lose, you win. But sometimes we do not have time and resources and we want a quick solution for the problem. So there can be compromises that both the parties they sit together and they identify that they will sacrifice something and they will gain something wasted in identifying the best possible solution. So that is why both the parties they agree. It is also known as sharing the pie. That I also share my portion with you and you also share my portion with somebody. So dividing the pie among two different parties would be that you get some of the portion of pie but you do not get the entire pie. So it is half win half lose situation. So this is third style of conflict management. The next style is avoiding style. I asked a question in between that if they are not our students and we have nothing to do with them, they are two people, random two people who are fighting on a road, on the side of a road. So how do we involve ourselves? Do we totally ignore them? If yes, so that would be referred to as avoiding style of management, where we as person do not want to get involved into any kind of conflict, so we totally avoid it. We ignore it, we avoid it, we do not get into the confrontation or negotiation. So that is referred to as avoiding style of management. When we want that no confrontation should happen, when we think that further communication on any issue would exaggerate or would make it more difficult to solve, so we try to suppress situation. And that situation, that style of conflict management, when we do not want to talk about the issue, we ignore talking about the issue, and rather we ignore that there is a conflict between two or three parties. For example, if there is some conflict in the organization happening, and as a teacher we do not talk about it, we do not involve into it, we try to suppress it, it is one of the typical nature of this style. It is time consuming because when we ignore some issue, it may get to the in future to solve it, and suppression may also lead to suppression of emotion. Now let's talk about the last style, that is the accommodating style of management. It is also known as I lose, you win. Sometimes when we are into conflict, we want our relationship with the other person to survive, and in that objective we can sacrifice some of our interest. That style of management is referred to as accommodating style. For example, in our organization, when leader they think that the peace in the organization is more important, so whenever there is some argument with the subordinates, maybe principal with the teacher, the teacher in the organization they try to say yes or say sorry or apologize for the situation. So so that there is peace and their boss or their principal is happy with us. So we try to lose the situation so that the other party win it and there's peace which is maintained. So that is called accommodating style of conflict management. This style is good in such situation when you know that superior in the organization would never understand your emotion, and it is better to suppress it for the time it can be possible. So sometimes it creates a kind of environment which is peaceful. So just to maintain peace, and we suppress our emotions, we suppress our needs, and we allow other party to win. So we follow their instruction or we follow their desires and we suppress our own desires. So if we are doing it for the happiness of somebody, that is referred to as accommodating style. This style is not always negative. Sometimes if you think that your lose is not that much, for example, if we are at home and our kid is demanding for a chocolate, so if we give the person chocolate and we do not like the chocolate so much that we would also want to have the share of that chocolate, so we definitely lose, but somebody who's getting that is very happy. So when your loss is minimum and it is maximum for somebody else, so sacrificing that small little thing can make somebody happy. If that is happening in the situation, so we can adopt accommodating style as well. So this is the another style of managing the conflict. Here, if in nutshell we want to comprehend this style, the person is so compassionate and empathetic and it's so understanding that they sacrifice their personal needs and interest for the happiness, for the benefit of other party. We become accommodating. Now the question is that we have talked about these 5 styles of conflict management, and we know that especially when we are into teaching profession, we have to deal with so many conflicts daily between the students, between the teacher and students, and between teacher and teacher. So can we have a one short one best answer for the question that which style is the best possible style of conflict management? Anybody would like to answer that? What is your perception? Which style is the best possible style of conflict management? Most effective, I would say. Discussion, democratic. Yes, discussion, democratic, they all come under collaborative style of management. So yes, generally it is treated to be the best and suitable style of management that we be collaborative, but not in all situation, because each style has got its advantages and disadvantages, merit and demerit. So we have to analyze the situation, and sometimes we can adopt different styles of management according to the requirement of the situation. Now, what is the importance of understanding these conflict management styles as a teacher? It helps us to improve our leadership qualities. A wonderful leader is who can understand their subordinates' requirement and their emotion and accordingly manage them. So one day when you are collaborative, it can make the culture of the organization better, but someday you have to be autocratic also, you have to be dominating also, so other style of conflict management can happen. What style should be adopted in what situation? If we can understand that as a leader, we not only become a good teacher, but we also become effective leader in the class and in our environment, in our organization. Secondly, the second advantage of understanding the conflict management and its different style is that it helps in stress management. Sometimes we do not understand how do we deal with people. If we have a uniform style of dealing all the people, it can lead to stress. So what style is appropriate in what situation? If the person is quite clear about it, the person may have a lesser chances of getting stressed. So it has been stress management. The third advantage of knowing conflict management style is that it enhances our personality. So the person who's quite clear about how to deal with different people and how your style should be different in dealing with different kinds of disagreement, it develops your personality as a whole. then we become a better teacher when we understand that to what extent we should be collaborative, to what extent we should be dominating, to what extent we should be accommodating. So when you are quite clear about the requirement of the situation and accordingly you manage people according to different conflict management styles, so we become effective in our teaching skills. Ultimately it helps in improving the relationship. So better relationship is one of the another outcome of effective conflict management styles. It have been identified that sometimes we try to manage some of the relationship and we try to impress somebody who's not that important in our life, and sometimes we lose important relationship because we are not quite clear about what kind of conflict management style would work in what situation. So the summary is, so the idea is that we have to be very clear about that we have got 5 different options of dealing with disagreements and conflict at workplace, within the classroom, outside the classroom, within the organization, with our colleagues, and as well as with our leaders, superiors in the organization. So if we really want to have these benefits, we have to understand that we should not stick with only one style of managing people. Different situations require different styles of management. So we understand that there can be 5 different options of dealing with disagreement. If we apply them appropriately according to the requirement of the situation, we definitely can create a win-win relationship in our life. So with that note, I would like to present my heartful gratitude to all the audience and the organizers who have given such wonderful opportunity so that the audience of global level can understand this particular phenomena of conflict management styles. And definitely, if we imbibe that into our personality, it will definitely give some advantage to us as an effective teacher. So for teacher also, it is important that we deal with different kinds of conflicts in the organization nicely so that we reap the benefit to the most. So thank you so much everyone for your patience listening.
Thank you, Dr. Bhawna Bhardwaj, madam. This is the new topic for this dias because before that, from running last 5 years, but no one have delivered this topic. So we enjoyed this session because conflict is the part of our mostly this thing happens, and in which situation what the complex problem will be there and how we will solve with your different type of conflict management, and output should be how it is good. It was very perfectly explained with your PPT. I am thankful to you. Now the dais is open for the discussion. I request participants they can discuss more with our speaker. Thank you.
Any question, please?
Yeah, participants are requested to unmute. Yes, Dr. Swanand Shukla, sir, please.
Good evening, Dr. Becker, sir, and good evening, Bhawna ma'am. Wonderful presentation you have made today, and really a very innovative, novel subject you have taken. And, a lot of work we can do on this subject. Means you can have your PhD also on the conflicts. So no doubt it is one of the very important issues you have raised today. Conflicts, when we're talking about, you have started from the kids, they are having fights, or maybe the neighborhood we are having fights, that is also conflict. And in the college institutes and schools also, we are having a conflict between the teachers, and the nationwide also you have discussed. But every conflict, what I feel, it doesn't arise, ad hoc, or it doesn't appear just on that particular day or particular time, but it has its roots deeper somewhere. And we have to understand these roots. And you have very well explained all different methods of conflict. And you said that we have to use our appropriate key for appropriate lock. So that key lock relationship you have established, that is also wonderful. But my question is, when we are having a conflict, it a deeper, especially it has the impact on the health. I'm a doctor, physician. If you're psychologist and psychiatrist, we should understand that point of view that it has a deeper impact in our body. If we are doing suppression also, it has a meaning and it will have impact, what kind of conflict it was and how it has been resolved. Because every injury leaves a scar. The more the deeper injury, the more deeper the scar. So that that arises, and no doubt we have seen a gang. There is a gang wars between two teams in the cities, and everything has some the conflict is not resolved, but they carry forward, and sometimes it takes a shape of rivalry. So, what do you think about such a kind of conflict? Because we have to think in a wider way, uh, because a number of things are happening in India. We are having gangs coming forward, or maybe internationally, 50 years. The Iran and USA is having a 50 years of bitterness, and they are carrying it, and it has become this shape of bitterness. So both the countries are not neighborhood countries. They are not fighting for the piece of land, but they are fighting for some principles. They try to do some nuclear development. But mind you, the other side is, they want some oil refineries, what they are having, oil things. So everything has some deeper structure. So, what do you think? How to resolve such a, because we may feel that conflict is resolved over here, but it may go further and it may take a bad shape. So, what we can do, for such instances? Human body, you'll find the conflicts are creating a lot of work. The psychiatrists are doing now a lot of work. If the conflict is between the mother and the son, or maybe the father and mother, and the child is looking that conflict, it has a deeper meaning in a human body also. So, what you can think about this aspect? Thank you.
Thank you so much for this wonderful question. And, making my knowledge for conflict management even more enriching, because your thoughtful expression and integration of this field with the psychology field is very important. As you rightly said, that conflict is not just one day's, what we witnessed in single day. There is a story behind it. So yes, conflict has a process, stages, and what we observe is just the observable part of it, that is the outcome. So we have to understand the process of conflict from the latent part. If we can understand the latent part of the conflict, so definitely the observable part, the outcome part, can be managed to a better way. One more thing that I would like to make it clear here is that it is not always necessary that the outcome of any conflict would be always negative. Sometimes there is functional conflict. So if it is managed in a appropriate manner and at the right stage, so it can turn out to be a positive conflict, the functional conflict as well. So what should be the strategy? That is one of the question that I need to answer as per my perception of your question. So the strategy depends on the level of conflict. Conflict is not just between two parties. Sometimes it can be of a person within himself. So we call it intrapersonal conflict. That is where the psychological and therapy session plays an important role. If a person is stressed, if the person have psychological issue, anxiety, so the person is more of facing intrapersonal conflict, and here counseling, coaching, mentoring, and psychotherapy therapy at psychological level is required. However, when there is a conflict between two parties, the negotiation process plays an important role. Communication plays an important role. So we should try that the conflict is not suppressed at any level, maybe at intrapersonal level or interpersonal level. So if we focus on handling the conflict at the latent stage only, the outcome part will definitely will be managed in a better way. So fighting and holding each other's collar, or having a war between two different countries, is the last stage, I would say. So the latent stage, if we missed it, so definitely the outcome would be worse. So the best strategy would be understanding any conflict at the initial stage only, so that the outcome part can be managed in a functional way.
Yeah, falling out, the spark should be closed down rather than it will turn to fire. That is what you want to say, and that is perfect, I think. And I think that conflict level may matters as per the education status also. If there is a conflict between two authors about the topic, they can resolve it, mutual understanding, and that can be concluded. But
Right.
if you'll find if it is at criminal level, it will be a different, conflict resolve. We have to resolve in a different fashion. It is not only the belief and those things we have to find out, but we have to resolve it in a very different fashion. So wonderfully placed the topic conflict, and I think nowadays the science is going so ahead that psychology has a great impact on the body. That these are known as psychosomatic diseases, and the malignancy of the breast, malignancy of something may be related with this conflict. And if we can resolve this conflict, resolution is there. I think the diseases will not grow in the human body also. Thank you very much. So there will be no conflict in the human body also.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you very much, ma'am, and very good evening, Dr. Swanand Shukla, sir. Basically, one of the major thing we have forget right now is the emotional intelligence. Basically, it plays the pivotal role in the conflict management. What new education policy is teaching us, and any component in any management studio, the basic thing is emotional intelligence. We have to frame such a dynamic structure that every student intelligence. So some other day I think that will be good enough to go with you with the emotional intelligence, as you were talking about the psychology and psychology behind that.
Right.
I think yes, that's more important, and there are so many theories which we are learning nowadays in the new education policy also. And ma'am, as ma'am talked about, that is a very big issue कि हम इतनी बड़ी fight और इतनी बड़ी इसके ऊपर बात कर रहे हैं. But the right now we have to give emphasis on the topic which we are playing in our home, which we are running with our classrooms or in our city or in our families also, the big families also. So everywhere, the most important thing is emotional intelligence. We have to frame such a structure that we have to get more and more intelligent for our emotions also. And we have to learn how to cope up with these emotions. Then they will play a beautiful role in this conflict management. Thank you.
Yes, I would agree with you because we are talking about national education policy and reform in education system. So this is where actually, like I said, that conflict is a entire process, and we tend to correct it at the end stage when the outcomes appears. But the need is to change, bring the basic change in the mindset of our generation, upcoming generation. We are teaching them a lot about how to become knowledgeable, but we are not teaching them how to become accountable to the society, how to become better in empathy, and emotional intelligence is important, value system is important. For that matter, spirituality is also playing some role in shaping the mindset of individual. So we have to work at the root level. Our education need that reform, that we prepare a citizen who are emotionally strong, emotionally intelligent, and perhaps they can understand that they can also be at fault, and they stop blaming the society as a whole and people in the society, and they become responsible for their action. If that happens, that is the first stage where we can make corrections to make our society a better society, and maybe the lesser experiences of conflicts within the society and within our own self. So definitely, ma'am, that plays an important role as a teacher, that we can build up a nation where the citizens are not only knowledgeable, but they are emotionally strong, they are emotionally intelligent. So that plays an important role.
I think the resilience, the word is correct. What ma'am was saying, intelligent, emotional intelligent, no doubt. But the resilience we have to develop among the students and the future citizens, because that is lost somewhere, and the threshold is it reaches very fast. People doesn't adjust, they doesn't admire, they doesn't respect, and they go forward. So wonderfully placed that, Supriti ma'am also mentioned that intelligence, emotional intelligence, we have to make strong, so that constructive, instead of reaching to the conflict, I think we should start from the emotional intellectual. We have to find out. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Supriti madam. Thank you, Dr. Sanand Shukla sir. Now we invite Sam Suresh Giri sir.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, sir. हेलो
Good evening, please.
मैम, जब क्लास में बच्चे कंफ्लिक्ट उनमें होता है तो उनको तो हम कर लेंगे, लेकिन एक्सीडेंटली कहाँ पर हो जाता है, जैसे बस स्टैंड हो या रेलवे स्टेशन पर हो, वहां पर कंफ्लिक्ट हो जाता है, तो उसको कैसे, बच्चों को कैसे सिखाना है कि वहां पर कैसे ओवरकम करना है, इसके बारे में बताइए।
बहुत अच्छा क्वेश्चन है, तभी मैंने आपसे भी सेशन के शुरू में ही आई स्टार्टेड विद द क्वेश्चन कि ये क्लासरूम का आंसर तो ठीक है कि अगर हमारे खुद के स्टूडेंट्स आपस में झगड़ रहे हैं तो वी कैन इंटरवीन, लेकिन ये स्टूडेंट अगर हमारे ना हो और सड़क पर कोई भी रैंडमली लड़ रहा हो तो उस केस में हमें क्या करना चाहिए? वी हैव टू बी नॉट ओनली इमोशनल व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट कॉन्फ्लिक्ट मैनेजमेंट स्टाइल। हमेशा हर प्रॉब्लम में अपने आप को रिस्पॉन्सिबल मानकर उसमें जंप कर जाना एक विजडम का काम नहीं है। सो वी हैव टू आइडेंटिफाई द राइट अथॉरिटी हु कैन इंटरवीन, बिकॉज पॉसिबली योर इंटेंशन एज अ पर्सन वुड बी करेक्ट कि मुझे दो लोगों के प्रॉब्लम में पढ़कर उनको सुलझाना है, बट यू हैव टू आइडेंटिफाई वेदर द सिचुएशन वुड बी अप्रोप्रिएट। मतलब वी हैव टू यूज आवर विजडम that does every situation need our attention, or sometime we can ignore the situation and we can request the right authority to approach so that they can use the right way to resolve the conflict. Because when two people are fighting, they are not fighting or they are not having disagreement physically, they have a different emotional stage, and as somebody responded that let them cool down, तो उनको वो cool down period देना बहुत जरूरी है, and sometimes some authority is required for that cooling down period. तो हर स्टेज में इंटरवेंशन और नेगोशिएशन कम्युनिकेशन जरूरी नहीं है। Sometime when you know that there is the right authority to be used, so I think that way at that point of time dominating style of conflict management would work better. So having that right responsibility and right authority, if it is not in hand, so we may get trapped into a different situation and difficult situation. So we have to be wise enough to understand that yes, emotion is one thing that we should get that those people separated, but then intelligence is also important, that what will be the right and appropriate and effective method of dealing with such conflict. So understand this dynamics of the situation, then only get involved into it. क्योंकि इन्वॉल्व होना काफी नहीं है, उसको सही तरीके से सॉल्व करना भी जरूरी है। सो इन्वॉल्व होके अगर हम अपना भी नुकसान कर दें, सो दैट वुड नॉट बी कॉल्ड एज विजडम। तो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट मैनेजमेंट में ना ये पांचों स्टाइल्स का बैलेंस बनाना बहुत जरूरी है। सो इट्स नॉट ऑलवेज नेसेसरी दैट वी इंटरवीन एंड वी बिकम कोलैबोरेटिव, समटाइम्स वी हैव टू बी डोमिनेटिंग आल्सो। सो उसके लिए अगर हमें राइट अथॉरिटी को अप्रोच करना पड़े तो
Thank you, Sam Suresh sir, and thank you for answering Dr. Bhawna Bhardwaj very perfectly, because in some situations it's better to understand the situation than try to solve it. Thank you. Now I request other participants, they can discuss.
Good evening, ma'am. Very nice presentation. I am Dr. N. Mohana from Tamil Nadu. Where we talk about conflicts, students' conflicts, I'm here to talk about conflicts between husband and wife, where the husband is not agreeing to take the responsibility and they both are separated. I need a suggestion for this from your side, ma'am.
Right.
He doesn't want the... Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Shall I continue, ma'am?
Yes. Very right question taken up, because this is the frequent problem of the society. We always perceive that there is incompatibility between two people, but we do not understand that what is the reason of incompatibility. So the first thing first is that we have to identify the reasons for psychological, emotional, and other reasons for incompatibility. And there can be various interventions which may play an important role, like counseling, mentoring of people, and making people aware of that they also have some loophole in the society. So counseling, coaching, and mentoring plays an important role. So that is why there are special counselors for managing the relationship between husband and wife, because it is the the outcome that we see is incompatibility, but there are some hidden and latent reasons for those incompatibility. If we do not reveal or we do not explore those reasons, so any correction would not help, ma'am. So, as I stated earlier, that the conflict is process. So we most of the time focus on the end stage of process. We have to go back to the first stage first, that what are the reasons, what are the personality mismatch, what are the emotional mismatch of our partner, and if we could identify those reasons, possibly there can be a better way of dealing with the relationship.
Definitely, ma'am.
But the question is really realistic, and one of the problem in the society is that we mostly have burden of relationship, and we do not focus on the problem solution, we focus on the problem more. So possibly a third party intervention or a counselor's intervention plays an important role in that.
Yes, ma'am. But third party, when we make us to intervene, no, it
Right.
makes still more confusion. To solve the problem, what we are doing, we are making ourselves busy and making our career to grow faster. That's all.
Right. Actually, ma'am, the problem is that sometimes we involve third party, but we really do not want solution for the problem. If both the parties are ready for the solution, then only solution will happen. It can
Definitely.
never be a one party's job, or it cannot be one person's responsibility. So the first
Yes.
thing is agreeableness of both the partners, that they are ready to solve the problem. If they are not ready to solve the problem will never get solved.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, what is the fate of the there are two parties conflicts, but if suppose some other party enters to resolve this conflict, like Pakistan, what
Right.
is the fate of that third party?
Right. The third party should have that wisdom and capability to solve the conflict. Identifying a wrong party to mediate the process is another blunder that we will do. So I don't think that possibly involving inappropriate third party would work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhawna madam.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, for accepting our invitation and joining here as a speaker.
Thank you so
Because
much.
today's topic was not discussed, as I have said earlier. And we are very happy with this topic, that this topic is very much useful to solve the problems, conflicts around us, maybe in a station or in the classroom or in other side also. Thank you for accepting. And tomorrow we will also again meet on the new topic, body language and communication skills. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you to all participants. Thank you, Dr. Saran Shukla sir. Thank you, Suresh sir. Thank you to Sukriti madam and Mohana madam for active discussion.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank
And
you.
it was nice interacting with everyone. So we'll see you tomorrow again, the same time.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Participants are requested to fill the feedback link